Hello, welcome to the Rightest Leftist. I'm Nathan Ogilvie. Today we have Blake. And Blake, how do you identify politically? What are we calling you?
I'd say centre-left.
Centre-left.
Yeah.
Slash left-winger.
Left wing, left.
Yeah.
It's a bit all over the place,
Yeah.
but it's left, further left in some parts.
Yeah,
Like,
as we will talk
yeah.
about today. And your occupation, you're an IT support guy, is
Yep.
what we'll call you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
great.
work.
So you live in the area of Kooyong, which is in one of the electorates in Victoria. And I think, is it one of the only ones in Victoria that went independent again with Dr. Monique Ryan?
I believe most of the independents did hold on to their seats. It was just maybe one or two that lost it. One was lost to Tim Wilson.
Yeah. Zoe Daniel.
Yeah, Zoe Daniel. Yep, that was the one. I think that one was like right down to. A lot of them were right down to like the tooth and nail kind of thing.
Yeah. And this area is very interesting because it was liberal for maybe the whole time it's been a seat. Very liberal area.
Yeah.
But an independent won again because Dr. Monique Ryan won in 2022 and then she won again this year in 2025. But so you're revealing who you voted for, aren't you? We can say you voted for.
I voted for the Labor member.
All right.
Don't remember it.
Don't remember the name. That's okay. They made a big impact on you.
I voted on party policy rather than the individual, but I did put Monique Ryan as the second preference, and yeah.
And I think that's probably how she got back in because, like in Australia, we have the preferential. It's not just your first vote.
Yeah.
The Labor person probably got knocked out, and then your vote went to Dr. Monique, which I think a lot of people
most
did that.
likely.
Anyone that doesn't really like the Liberals in this area probably did that.
Yeah.
So she got in again. So I think we agree, like we've got our little group chat with politics and we're both like on the left wing in certain ways. We agree on most things, but I think a big disagreement is that you are a supporter of the Labor Party and I'm more of a supporter of the independents. Like if I lived here, I would have voted for Dr. Monique Ryan. So not putting it all on you, but what are some of the big reasons to vote for Labor? Because the kind of people that watch this show, they might know the name Labor or they might know a bit about their policies, but what sort of brings you to vote for them?
I find them to be the more stable and reasonable in terms of political policy. They're more consistent. While that's not saying much in terms of like the big parties, they're more consistent in their policy than the Liberal Party is. I don't find the Greens as an appealing choice because they seem to me as more of like a performative political party rather than a serious political party. There was a bit of a move in the 2010s for them to try and legitimise themselves, but they seem to have just turned back into like the old kind of activist party rather than a concrete policy kind of thing. I find like Labor's history, Labor's the Labor Party is like the main reason we have many of our worker protection laws now these days. They're part of the union movement. Well, they're not part of the union movement. They're adjacent to the union movement.
I think most unions or union members would endorse and vote for Labor.
But
so they're born out of that a little bit.
But it's basically those kinds of concepts. They're left wing, but they're not too left wing to the point where there's no leeway. It's like the core part of my philosophy is whatever works. If there's like a little bit of capitalism, if there's a little bit of socialism in it, there has to be like a bit of like a lever kind of.
Yes.
Lever towards like balancing it out, not just going laissez-faire. capitalism.
Like liberals and just
Yeah.
let things run and
Yeah,
drive off the road. The metaphor, like I think you said, we already recorded this once. We're doing it again more professionally. Like the car going off the rails with liberals. You see the Labor as the responsible drivers of the car.
yeah, and liberals as the drunk drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Green's just the kid in the back seat complaining.
Yeah, pretty much. Are we there yet?
Yeah.
And then Pauline Hanson,
Oh, wow.
like in the boot, just.
We don't have to cut. We'll keep that in. Yeah. So even though I'm not a supporter of the Labor Party, I'll try and sort of summarize what you said, and like the strengths of the Labor Party is that I've heard it's like a living organism because there's actually a right and a left side in Labor. So the Labor Party takes it's like sort of in the centre, but there's a bit more centre left. And as you said, it's like capitalism and a little bit of socialism. And they come together to try and find the most reasonable sensible policies forward.
Yeah.
Is that sort of a fair?
I'd say
I
say there's a fair argument for that because at the end of the day, you're talking to the general populace. Not everyone's going to be a far left. Not everyone's going to be like on one specific side of the spectrum. You have to put a wide array of political thought behind it. So that's my reasoning behind why I find Labor as a more appealing party.
Yeah.
They're able to put forward, like push the boulder forward a bit, but at the same time they won't push it too far to the point where the pendulum will swing backwards into the other's favour and then completely undo all that work that's been done.
Yeah, so I think everything you're saying, like the data that I've looked at backs all that up, that Australia moved away from the extremes because the Greens didn't do that well, so the further left side didn't do well. The big criticism of the Liberals is they went too far to the right and they didn't do well. And that Labor's now sort of representing the everyday Aussie. Is that why you feel like Albanese won? Because he won they extended their margin and they've got 94 seats in the lower house. In the Senate, I don't know the exact number, but they increased their seats in the Senate as well. So
they don't have like the complete majority of the Senate, but they'll still have to work with other parties to do that. But at the same time, it was more the Liberals lost because the Liberals lost more than Labor won. The Liberals ran I think everyone will say the same thing. It's no secret. They ran the worst campaign ever. It was inconsistent. They were also running off the back of where their last prime minister, their last time in government, was not necessarily well tenured.
It's terrible. I'll say it.
No, it was quite terrible. Quite terrible. It was inconsistent. Constant backstabbing led to, and as it seems for like the past 10 years, like no consistent plan in energy policy. That has toppled so many leaders of their party over and over again.
Yes. I hear the right-wing argument in my head when we talk. I know they're going to say that about Labor too. We can go back to Rudd and Gillard. We'll do that. We can do that if we want.
Yeah,
but I get what you mean.
Yeah, and that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah.
Gillard and Rudd started it.
Yeah.
It gave the excuse, and then the Liberals came in saying we're not going to be as chaotic. Surprise, surprise. They
3 leaders later.
3 leaders later.
Yeah. Is that been changed? I believe that's been changed because it was that they needed, when they did the spill, because in Australia we don't directly vote for our leader like in America with the president. You vote for your local member who then votes. Because it for both parties it had to be a 50% win, and now they've both extended it to like 2/3. So now it's like almost impossible to do. That's why it hasn't happened now for the last
they both
5
restricted.
years.
They both restricted their party policies in that case.
Yeah. So it's harder to knock someone out.
It took after Labor did it right after they lost against Abbott. The Liberal Party, I believe, gave it a bit more time and waited until Scott Morrison came in. So
Yeah.
Couldn't have waited a little longer, I guess. But okay. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was like a whole decade of daggers, basically, that just kept like policy, like sensible policy on the wayside. It didn't. There wasn't like any concrete policy. We've just been flip-flopping back between energy policies, and I don't think there was like an appetite to flip-flop back.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah. So now where we are, that Anthony Albanese leading the Labor Party had a huge victory. As you said, like they have to do some deals in the Senate. So like, they start the bill in the House. Labor's got, it's like a huge majority, isn't it? So they can basically get anything they want through.
Yeah.
And then the Senate, there's a little bit of deal making, but basically they've got a big mandate now for what they're going to do. So is that sort of the reason you voted for them, or like, are you confident the next 3 years? So, because I can get into my criticisms and like other criticisms of Labor, but I'm not super confident, even though they've got this sort of mandate that they're going to deliver on it. But how do you feel about the next 3 years?
I'd say better than it would have been with Liberal, basically.
Okay, I agree with that.
At this point, I don't vote in the political landscape. I don't vote for the ideal candidate, because that's usually that comes with the strings attached kind of thing. They'll say that they could say all the right things, and then at the end of the day, how are they going to perform with that? Do they have the experience to do that? You have smaller party, like the small up and coming parties, like the micro parties, like you'll have like One Nation, and if we're going back when Palmer managed to get like three members into the Senate, you'll find that they had problems like keeping their own house clean and like keeping like a cohesive unit together.
Yes. Yeah.
So I do find that Labor is more able to keep as a cohesive unit more than the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party, while it's considered like how the Republican Party in America is, it's the grand old party. It's like the coalition of like massive amount of different political views, all on the right spectrum. The problem is I find it too wide of a spectrum for it to be a functional party with like sensible policies.
Well, because there is and I always call them the Liberal Party, but it is the Liberal National Coalition, because the National Party is the farmers, landowner, and I think a common thread.
You've got multiple parties. Like Queensland has the Liberal National Party. You've got you've got the Liberal Party in New South Wales. You've got the Liberal. They're all it's all coalitions of different state parties.
But they essentially represent capital, meaning moneyed interests, big corporations, business owners. That's really who they appeal to at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I find they tend to. That's another reason that I don't prefer them. It's that I find that they cater to specific corporations.
Yeah.
They give kickbacks to policy preference to specific players in the capital system, rather than what they say is free market. They seem more of a specific market.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's.
I think people are thinking that they may never get back in again, because I'm sure they're going to do their post-mortem and figure out what happened, even though most sensible people already could tell them.
No, it's the political pendulum. After a while, they eventually do decide for a change. You got to remember that John Howard was in for about 9 years.
He was in 11 years, wasn't he?
9,
it was like
almost
to 2007.
Yeah, and it was, even he admitted, it was like the people just got sick of us kind of thing. Then again, also work choices did play a significant part in that. Yeah. But it's the political pendulum. Eventually, things will go back to the Liberals. It's just in what form of the Liberals is it going to be?
Because when you say they're across the spectrum, this is where, so I'm buying into the independents, the rise of the independents, because if you look, especially just the last 3 elections, they've basically increased like their vote share of like the Australian population by 3% each time.
Yeah.
So it was about 7.5 or 8% or whatever it was. And it's less in the Senate because micro-parties have better chances in the Senate.
Yeah.
But in the House, they got 10 seats. No, sorry, they had 10 last election and now they got 9. So I think they had 2, like a net loss of 1. So a few extra independents won and some lost their seats. But the vote share is increasing. And I feel like that is going to happen again because I do think most everyday Aussies are getting sick of the party politics. Maybe more so on the Liberals. I think, Peter Dutton tanked the party, but I don't think our friend Susan/Sussan is going to turn the party around at all. I don't think she has it in her. So is it like, there's like, they call him Chairman Albanese. I think that's like the friendly Geordies thing. Is it like, is Albanese just going to rule for the next 10 years because there's going to be no party that'll be able to catch up? And then in that way, do independents have a bit of a role in that crossbench where they can influence policy?
Well, in the case of you saying that Susan doesn't have a chance to turn the party around, I'd say it's a bit way too early about that.
She has a chance, but can she though?
Well, could Tony Abbott have become Prime Minister? Obviously, unfortunately, yes. But look, I think in the case of like minor parties and micro parties and independents, it's perfectly fine for you to vote in that direction. In fact, if your member isn't representing you, you want the best representation. I think Monique's the best representation of like the Kooyong districts.
Yes.
As she's basically what the Liberal Party used to be in that case.
Yeah.
She would have been a Liberal Party member if it weren't for them trying to put too wide of a net to try and smother Pauline Hanson's One Nation vote.
Yes.
That's the reason they're going.
Yeah.
They're kind of in a problem where they're in a bit of a demographic problem at the moment.
Well, and ironically, Pauline Hanson did even better this time round.
Yeah,
so it's like
exactly
the racists and it's not just racism that why people vote for One Nation. It's other like the economic interest of farmers or just being unhappy with the Liberal Party on the right side of the spectrum and feeling they're not represented. People are going that way. So, but then they've lost. We're talking about the tier.
They're seen as the independents from a right-wing perspective. They're seen as an independent kind of thing.
But so I'm interested in that. They call the Teal Independents, which isn't a party, but they're funded by Climate 200, and it's sort of a loosely connected group.
Yeah,
as you're saying, that is what the Liberal Party used to be, and they're much more to the left on social issues.
Yeah.
And people say like, what's that? What does that to the left mean? It's like they're just more accepting. They're not going after minorities, LGBT issues.
They're not falling for the culture war.
Yeah, it's just economic, and that's why with the rightist, calling the rightist leftists, I think there are some good right-wing ideas like individual responsibility and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think the Liberal Party just lost its values and lost its way. And some of the reasonable ones are actually admitting that. But I don't think they'll connect that to how do we get those voters back.
Yeah.
It's like people will, because I don't like someone like myself, I'm in that weird spot where I just can't bring myself to vote for Labor because I think there are issues which we can get into like corruption, where their funding comes from, the incrementalism of, I call it, the party of can't have nice things. A big one that I'm going to do a video on, it'll be around at the same time this gets released, the Northwest Shelf Project, like the big, huge gas project that Labor announced being extended to 2070, where it's like, I've come from the Green. I've come away from the Greens, but I can't land with Labor if they're going to be, enacting policies like that. I'm much more aligned with the Teals on things like that.
I'm not sure why they went with that deal either.
Yeah, you're not a Labor Party member, so you don't have to defend them.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not. I don't know why they.
No,
I'm just saying, like from my point of view, I don't see why. The only way I could think of is that it could have been like a strategic thing from a member of parliament in that area.
Yeah.
Member of parliament in that area asking for support on this to keep like jobs in that area. That's the only way that I could probably see that it being done.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And
you're right.
That's going to eventually happen with any kind of member of parliament kind of thing. They'll always be trying to like get the best for their district, so that they can get in. Yeah. They can get voted in. It's just human nature kind of thing. But in terms of like the independents. While I do think that they are it's a good way of like starting a political conversation. It's giving like a third way so that we're not like locked in on the Labor's idea and Liberals' idea. It gives, like Monique Ryan, she does give some good points and into like the housing crisis and and how the system is set up.
And anti-corruption, she does a lot on
anti-corruption,
integrity.
Yeah. But it's also like you said, they're funded by Climate 200, which is also a group of multi-billionaires.
Well, the owner is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah,
it's generally crowd-funded, but I do understand. It's they have wealthy donors.
It is. Yeah, it is also like it's the question. It's the point of like, well, if you don't agree with like big money getting into politics, and this is a vehicle for big money getting into politics. They're doing it for rounds like reasons that I ideologically agree with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still money in politics kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I find a bit conflicting. Like
that's the best point I've heard so far.
Yeah.
That basically the teal, especially the teal independents who take that Climate 200 money, that is essentially a big funding source. It's big. It's a form of big money.
It's basically saying, money's in politics. So get your fill.
Again, so you don't represent Labor. I don't represent that Climate 200. But what I think they would say is they have specific limitations where they don't take money from. So there's no fossil fuel companies, no gambling companies. The Simon Holmes Accord, I actually looked up his net worth. It's a bit, hard to tell. I don't think he's anywhere close to a bill. I thought he was close to billionaire, but let's say it's around like 10.
I haven't looked too much into his, but at the same time, it's still like a considerable amount of money because you do need that to get into politics.
I would describe it as, because Greens, like, let's be fair, the Greens probably have a few wealthy donors, but Greens is pretty grassroots in their funding.
Yeah,
I would put Climate 200 as in between the two. So the two parties have huge, multi-billionaire donors that get thousands and thousands, like even Labor. And this is one of my big issues, Labor, taking hundreds of thousands from the gambling industry, hundreds of thousands from fossil fuel. And then when it comes time to do climate policy, they're like, oh no, we're going to extend this environment destroying project for another 30 years. And I get the argument about the transition. Like that's one thing I really disagree with the left on is we can't just switch to clean energy tomorrow. Yeah. There's a 20 to 30 year transition.
That's my problem with
they've already moved away from 2030. It's 2050 now, isn't it? Yeah. So they keep pushing it back. But that's my feeling with Labor is they kind of just feel like everything's always around the corner. Because my passionate issue is mental health funding. And Labor took away it and this is credit to the Liberals, believe that. They increased the funding from 10 sessions to 20 sessions during COVID for like private psychologists, which I directly profit from, but it helps people get the counselling that they need. Yeah. And then Labor took it back. And then they announced something like Albanese's thing was about an extra $1 billion for mental health funding. And I've looked into where it goes and it's pretty good, it's like public funding. But then there's the thing like, the AUKUS, like the nuclear submarine thing. And I actually heard this from Dr. Monique Ryan, actually, that like the amount of billions of dollars that Australia is sending for that to get these nuclear submarines, they're going to be delivered in like 50 years or something. So we don't see any benefit. She said it's like $800 million, 25 times.
It's the worst. That was the worst foreign policy decision that was ever made by Scott.
But I think Albanese is continuing it, isn't he? He doesn't want to review it.
Contractually, you have to.
Yeah,
but I think it's like we already pissed off the French. We're doing this submarine deal. Do you want to piss off the Americans while Trump is in government?
But isn't the issue? I get that. But isn't the issue that apparently Keir Starmer, who's the Prime Minister, it's also sunk cost fallacy as well because at this point we've already put money forward. We might as well just I think this is the biggest. This is where I think the independents, because this is where I'll be proved wrong next election if the independent vote goes down. But why I think they're going to go up is the independents are hammering wasteful government spending. which is a very much of like a right-wing coded.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Labor's criticised for. Even though the right-wingers, when they get in, it's like Trump at the moment is just spending. Liberals do it too. But the wasteful government spending on a program like that, sort of saying, the Liberals sort of do it with big business. It's like, oh, that's how it is with big businesses. They just have to get it.
Yeah.
Is Labor's answer really like, oh, well, we've signed this deal. We don't have to review it. We just have to pay.
It's more of like a contractual obligation, because if you're going to, because we've already paid into it, we've already agreed to it.
Yeah.
We're basically either going to go into it, or I haven't had a look into the specifics of the deal, but if it's anything like how we had with the East-West link in Victoria, we have to do like some sort of stupidly ridiculous payout that makes it unreasonable for us to go out of it. Basically, there's also the damage it would do towards between us and the US and us and the UK. Well, it's as stupid of a deal as it is. Even the UK is even saying it's a stupid deal.
Yeah.
I honestly think it is the dumbest thing that we ever did, and I think Scott Morrison is the worst Prime Minister we've ever had, simply on that deal alone.
Yeah.
That deal has compromised us in defence and as a nation, and as financially as a nation as well, because now we're having to pay this ridiculous deal for submarines that we don't even know we're going to get. And for nuclear submarines, to say specifically, which we don't have any nuclear facilities to actually.
Well, was he hoping we would by the time we get them? Was that part of the plan? That was going to go alongside
probably. Probably. That's he was a man of like many delusions that night.
And he's disappeared into the night. No idea where he is.
Honestly, I think that's his saving grace.
That he didn't stick around.
Yeah, it's like you still have Tony Abbott talking now. Do you still want him talking to the press, giving his expertise?
100%. I think we're fully aligned on, and the Liberals. But I think this is a frustration though, Blake, that like, why a lot of people don't bring themselves towards Labor, that kind of the two parties and that's it. Problem is that Labor's, and like, I don't know, I feel like Albanese's that type where he's really good at being a moderate. Like, he's really good at playing it safe. Like, I think he did that this election, like just doing the little changes around the edges, not stepping into an area. Like, as Bill Shorten messed up with, like about the franking credit taxes, and he touched on areas that the general population were like, don't touch our taxes. Bill Shorten, I think, tried to do it in a way that, like, he sort of half did it and didn't really stand by his own convictions. Albanese just went fully safe. And I think that's what a lot of people's frustration is. Like, we're in a rental crisis where, they're operating like cartels and increasing rent 25% a year. I've told that story, like, when I was renting, got a 25% increase. And there's nothing you can do, because it's like, well, that's the market rate. So if everyone does it, that's how it is. So where's Labor on that? I think that's like what people think is Labor's in now. They say, oh, you can't freeze rent. It's like, well, that's what laws, changing laws are actually, like, I'm a homeowner now, but I don't want to forget renters as well. Yeah. Like, people are struggling. And I just feel like Labor I don't know where they are on that stuff.
The thing with rent is it's a difficult thing to, because you're talking about the property market, the housing, the housing market in general. There's a lot of levers involved in that, basically.
Yes, it's complex.
Because you're freezing rent. That means profitability. Like, if someone's investing in a property, that means they can only make this amount of money. They have to then now only buy a property that's within this level of this level of potential return. Then what you've got after that
make changes.
The price of it was before global markets decided to do their thing, and it's profitability. It's profitability compared. Like, someone's bought that house, they need to get their return. Otherwise, they can't sell it, because they have to sell it on top of the interest that they have to pay for that loan kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's more of like a market thing. It's not so much and I don't agree with it either. There's a shit ton of problems with the housing market and how it works. Like mainly the way it's built on speculation rather than it as a utility. Housing should be set as a utility.
I think it's just, I understand the inflation argument, but I think it's the idea of like greedflation, or where it's like you use inflation as an excuse to ridiculously raise. Because inflation, I think at the moment, is about 2.4 or 5%. So if a house price rent goes up 25% in a year, that's 10 times inflation. That's something going on more than just inflation. But I get the point. I think is the other part too. There's that example where the treasurer Jim Chalmers. Do you like Jim Chalmers? I find him a bit. He seems to embody like Labor in terms of he just seems quite boring.
He's from the right. If I remember correctly, he's from the right faction of Labor. No, Albanese is actually from the left faction. Yeah. Chalmers was part of the right, and he picked him as the treasurer specifically to get some balance. Get some balance within the party.
So he does the thing about the super, and look, again, I'll get the numbers wrong, but it's the principle that I'm talking about is the same thing, where it's about, it's like the top 1% of super accounts, so like 80,000 people or something, or a very low number of people.
I think it was 0.5. It was in the like 1.5% of super accounts that are above.
And they're going to have to pay a higher tax rate, basically.
Yeah.
And the right-wing media machine lost their minds, and they try and pin it to, it's like the murder, Rupert Murdoch. We haven't talked about him on this version yet. Our friend Rupert Murdoch, who can just kill the NBN and stuff like that. They just go after that, and they basically scare people, and people think, oh, my super account, when it's like, no, it's not your super account. It's these top 1%. Yeah. So is that why, I guess what I'm getting at is, I feel like I'm starting to think...
It didn't work, though.
Yeah, well, that's good.
They did it. Yeah. Like the general polling was like support for that.
Well, that's good.
Policy. It was like around like 60, 70%.
Well, I didn't know that part. So
if I recall, I might be just pulling it out of my ass, but I recall like it was a pretty much like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, yeah. Because I think part of it is, and I think that's because Kevin Rudd talked about that a bit, like his time. When they were trying to do the mining tax or the energy, or what do they call that? As a emissions trading scheme. Yeah. They're trying to get like a capitalist market-based way to reduce carbon emissions. And the right wing just attacked them because it's like, even the fossil fuel companies don't want to do something like that. They just want to be able to do whatever they want.
It was a 1-2 punch with that. It was both the emissions trading, and it was also the mining tax. But the mining lobbies were like they still are powerful, but it's like during like mid-boom they were very powerful in getting their word across.
Is that where Labor, this is like the argument of like the parties are the problem. To be able to rise up in a party, do you have to kind of, especially like Labor having a bit of a left and a right faction, do you have to kind of, I'm gonna use the term, water down your ideas or policies to actually get something agreed to, just in terms of what Labor's policy is going to be? Because I know Albanese has a lot of power now in terms of he can sort of have a bit more say on what things should be. But you can see then like something that's reasonable, like Jim Chalmers' thing about the tax on super. Yeah. Well, you're saying it polled well, which is good, but I think most people who watch like Channel 7 or Channel 9 or read the Herald Sun and they don't know the media bias, they just get scared and then they're like, oh, Labor sucks, and then they vote against Labor.
I'd say... So sorry.
I think I asked like 3 questions at once.
What was your...
I guess I'm getting at is like, my issue with Labor is I don't feel like they go far enough on a lot of things that would be really reasonable. Like increasing mental health funding, putting dental on Medicare. With this mining tax stuff, it's sort of like they just gave up on it almost and they haven't tried it again. Or with the Northwest Shelf project. I would like them to at least just say, we're putting a deadline on that because we're transitioning to clean energy. That's the way the world's going and we need to get it done. I think some people who are very cynical, maybe I'm not that far, but that's where their mining industry funding that goes to the Labor Party, people join the dots with that. Is that why they can't have bold policies?
I would say part of it part of it would be like the funding from donors. That would be part of it. But there's also the case of, you also have to remember, when you're a part of a political party, you are just one member. You're one voice.
Yes,
You have to. You are one voice of many voices.
Yes.
You don't all agree on specific policies. You
yes.
come from different parts of the country which rely on different parts of the industries.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of the whole system is set up against me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes a self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess that's true.
You're basically saying, I can't do this, the whole system's rigged against me. That's not quite a productive way. All you can do as a member of your party is you can voice your opinions, you can try and bring other people towards your point of view. You may not always get it.
Yeah.
Some people are just set in their ways. They're set in their way of thinking. It's just either how they've been raised or how their upbringing's been, and their experiences. At the end of the day, it's all you can do is basically just put your point forward in that case.
Yeah. And so is that's how those people rise up, like in Albanese, is they just keep doing that and they have a bigger view. Because I guess, like, you know...
They don't roll over because it's like, politics is very cutthroat.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. And that's the part that, like, they have to have that thick skin and that personality to get to where they are. Yeah. But then when they get to where they are, it's
like you have to find a balance. You have to be able to... I'm just saying this like outside of like any... I'm not a politician or anything, but from my viewpoint is... You'd have to have a balance. You'd have to be like, okay, this guy is going to screw me over. I need to make some preventative measures so that he doesn't do that. But at the same time, you have to also encourage a kind of culture of actually getting stuff done.
Yeah, that's right.
And getting stuff done in like the long term kind of thing. And that's where I find Labor is more cohesive in that case. I find Liberal Party, they go for each other's throats. They're like sharks. The second they smell blood, they...
Well, it's a self-interest, isn't it?
It's self-interest, but sometimes like their only self-interest is get into government and then figure out what to do next.
They want the title. Yeah, I think that's the case.
That's what I've always found. It's like Liberals the Liberal Party seems to be more focused on actually having power rather than actually doing anything.
Like wielding it, yeah. And look, I hear that argument, and that's where it's probably the one thing that could compel me. Like my video on the Liberals is I will never vote for the Liberal Party. My Labor one's going to be while I will likely never vote for the Labor Party, because I do think they could...
I may vote for the Labor Party.
Just do it slowly.
I don't know. Maybe give me a few drinks.
But what could compel... I think for me, what's not connecting for me is that I don't see that... You're describing it, but I don't see Labor's grand vision. And I hear, like, there's the Friendly Geordies argument that they've had to spend that last term undoing a lot of the damage the Liberals did over 9 years. Rudd and Gillard didn't really get a chance.
There's still a fair bit of damage in terms of like financially where the country is. They spent 9 years saying that they were going to get a budget surplus. They didn't. No, they didn't.
Before. And they all say, I hear the right wingers again, COVID. No, it was like that before. They didn't get surplus before COVID.
They had 7 years before. They had two terms to actually get something together, and they didn't. They had the middle of a mining boom to be able to do that. Yeah. We could have had like a sovereign wealth fund like Norway.
Yeah.
Like Norway.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But where's Labor on that? Do they think we should have that?
We're not in the mining boom anymore where we can actually ask for that. It's like right now we're effective. Like I think it's like the feeling is basically we're effectively in a recession at this point. So taxing people more to get that sovereign wealth
That would be taxing the mining company. That's super profits, isn't it? When
And
they make
again,
super amount.
the mining companies have fingers in everywhere in the
that is part
political
of the problem.
system, and that is part of the problem.
Yeah. So like, I hear that, like, if Labor, let's say Labor get 9 years, so they get this term and they get another term. What for you do you like? I'm developing this on my own time, and I think it'll be in that video, the Labor scorecard. Like, I'm going to give them every chance. Like, I'm going to be critical of them, but I'm open-minded to see if they tick these like 5 policies on the scorecard. I may vote for them. I like the independents. I think the independents are better because I think they don't have to be told what to do. I think their money is cleaner. I know they take money in a grassroots way with some wealthy donors, but I think it's much cleaner money. But I'm willing to be open-minded. Do you have like things you're looking out for that they'll deliver this next 3 years?
Just as long as they basically keep some semblance of like renewable energy targets.
Yep.
They do something about the housing crisis at this point, like setting up. I do think increasing the supply, while I don't think they'll be able to do it. Even I believe it was the Treasury or the Reserve. It was a report that recently came out saying basically, if you want to get like your finances in order, you're going to need to tax more and make cuts. I'd say that would probably be like one way to get the finances in order, but at the same time, like, what do you're basically you're going to be cutting it at the fabric of the Australian social system by doing that.
Yeah. Could they disincentivize multiple property owners? I would, if it was my policy, I would say they get 2 investment properties, and then your third and beyond really disincentivize that with higher taxes.
Part of the problem with how investment property works is that the capital gains tax cut for when you hold an investment for longer than a year. You basically halve the amount of tax you need to pay. So you would pay like 30% on that capital gains, but if you hold it for longer than a year, it's 15%.
That's John Howard.
That was a John Howard policy,
and that's when the house prices skyrocket.
Yep, part. The idea of it was supposed to be to invest in Australian business, like the ASX, which, look, I think his intentions were good in that case, but I think in terms of like extending that to housing, I think maybe a grandfathering way of getting rid of that.
Yeah.
As it's like I said, it's not an investment; it's a utility.
Yeah.
It's not speculation.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Do you think a Labor senator like Michelle Ananda-Rajah, who has 7 investment properties, will agree? I think maybe one. Maybe I got it wrong. 1 house, and then 6 investment properties.
Yeah, you'll find everyone in the political spectrum outside of a few independents.
Yeah. And maybe the Greens.
I think Adam Bands had
they probably do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's not even in it.
But yeah, it's like you'll find that they're all doing it because it's part of how to get ahead in the system at the moment, which is ridiculous. But it is what it is at this point.
So housing. What about healthcare? Do you have any things you'd like to see Labor do?
Down the line, I would like to see dental being added, but I think the only sane way of bringing it in without increasing the deficit, the debt, would be to put in a tax levy. Now, the problem with that is right now I don't think there's an appetite for a tax levy on that.
Yeah, and that would be for people that would be like on your tax return, like the Medicare levy, the dental levy.
Adding, so increasing the Medicare levy to allow for that. That would be the only way. But how much would you need to raise it just to account for that? Because your first 2 or 3 years of spending on funding dental in Medicare would be astronomical, because everyone's finally going like, oh, I'm going to finally get my teeth checked, kind of thing.
Yeah, there would be a trend. That's what I'd love to hear Labor talk about, like that, the transition.
Yeah.
That this might be 10, this isn't going to happen next year. Yeah. This will happen over the next 9 years if you keep voting us in.
I don't think in the current political climate it would be something that they could do, because you don't want to increase the debt. At the moment, where I think roughly 30% of our GDP is the national debt, which is it's an okay spot. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, not some other countries are way over.
The US is actually gone right over their total GDP of
Yeah, that's crazy.
of their total yearly GDP of their debt's like higher than that. And once you get into that territory, it's really, really dangerous financially.
Yeah.
But the country's in a good position. I think we're still in. Our country's still got a AAA credit rating. Not even the US just lost it.
Yeah. Look, I know that's my whole thing too. Is Australia's probably one of the best countries to live in, especially our political system. It's like we got one of the best things. So to complain it's like, but the thing is there are a lot of, everyday Aussies are struggling and the cost of living is sort of spiraling, capitalism is starting to spiral out of control.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure that I trust Labor to handle it. Everything you're saying is starting to convince me. But let's maybe end on what about cost of living? What do you think Labor could do to, because that was clearly the number one issue of the last election, and I think it will be in the next one too.
I think the energy subsidy, paying for energy bills at this point, that's a good policy because, I benefited from it this month. It's great.
Most Aussies did.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good stopgap. But again, it's the only way forward of making energy affordable is going to eventually be us transitioning fully to renewable and transitioning the grid to work for a fully renewable grid. There's always the idea of you need to have a base load, and that was the rationale behind nuclear energy or having some coal-fired plant.
Yeah.
But the idea, I think there was some arguments in regards to energy generation within the new renewable grid. Is you don't have to have a base load. You just have to have you have to have good storage. You have to have a network that can feed in between itself.
Yeah.
So the parts of the country that are receiving wind or sun or some form of renewable can transfer over to the other parts of the country.
And I think that's things with snowy hydro and that too, with the water flowing.
Yeah, hydro is also good.
You can get some continuous power. You don't have to rely, because isn't that the rationale for the Northwest? One of the rationales, aside from lobbying from the mining, from the fossil fuel companies, is that the gas can be pumped, that can be brought into the grid quite quickly if they need it. Is that part of it? And it can be sold to other
gas
countries.
Is a good transit. It's an all right transition, but the problem is we need to be transitioning a bit quicker than we currently are.
Yeah.
I don't think... I know that the Greens want to transition a lot quicker, but I don't think they'd be able to do it in a feasible way. If you know how government contracts usually work, unions I know I say unions are a good thing, but also they can be a curse at the same time. They can run projects out for ages.
Yes,
but it's a mix of things. Sometimes it's unions, sometimes it's councils in the area that no one bothers to look at, and when they're doing dodgy shit, that's where most of the dodgy stuff will come from. It will come from councils because
I got to look into them more. Yeah, well,
because it's think about it. Who is? Do you know your local council?
Yeah, I in one of my videos I emailed them.
Yeah.
About the.
But do you think the average person knows who their local council member is?
I don't think so. I did another video about that, about how to look up your local member.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very important. The civic engagement.
Yeah.
That's something that's the whole reason.
And that's also the problem is the journalism isn't usually too fixated on on your local council members, even though they're involved in most of the funding that gets put towards infrastructure in the area.
Yeah.
So it's because journalists usually pay attention to the one that could do the most damage, which is of course the federal and the state governments.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I focus definitely this channel is more federal, and House of Representatives more local members, but. I'm expanding that more because I've emailed my councillor and state. I heard back from my state, which is Labor. I got a Labor state government, so I may get an interview. But I want to interview more politicians for sure and
Yeah.
build my knowledge, because I think the economic stuff, I fully believe that argument now that, there's like, was it Bill Clinton? It's like, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
That I fully believe that is why elections are
Well,
won
I
and
think
lost.
it was his campaign manager at the time that said it's.
Is that James Carville or someone? Or I don't know.
I don't know. I can't remember his name, but.
Before we wrap, is
Yeah.
there any last Labour points or independent points you want to make? I got 2 more questions for you, but you go. No, you good? Well, I wanted to quickly do US, since it's been like the big issues. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, how's that all going to end? Do you think it's just going to blow over, or do you think it's going to be the turning point?
I think
it's all everyone is talking about. Like literally every podcast I listen to, even some non-political ones, it's like, I don't know if he's going to get past. I don't think he's going to resign, but I don't know if he'll be able to get out of this one. What do you think?
I think he played with fire, and he's currently getting burned at this point.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all that can be said.
People are burning their MAGA hats and stuff, and I know that's you see a few little videos, but I think people are starting to go, what did we vote for here?
Yeah,
And then connect the dots to all the other things he's lied about.
At the same time, I'm a bit skeptical that it's going to completely damage him.
Yeah.
It could burn off like maybe a 10% kind of thing, but I don't.
Yeah.
But his base is ridiculously obedient towards him.
Yeah.
So it's like.
I know.
It's like we all thought like half the scandals would take him down, but it's possible this one could be the one that burns him. But I'm always of like the opinion of just wait and see with him.
And in the other questions that related to Trump losing support too, but with Elon Musk starting this new America First party, do you think that that's going to be anything significant? Do we let Musk? I don't think we let Musk back in, but like in terms of his work on, because he did a lot of work with Tesla and clean energy. Do we take that seriously, or is that just the gimmick right now?
I'd say take it with a grain of salt. It could work out like it did with Bill Clinton and George Bush in '92, where Ross Perot was his name.
Yeah, I think and he got like 17.
He was the third party candidate, and he basically cost George Bush the election.
Yeah. Do you think it could be like that?
Potentially, but I think it's more likely going to be like a more Clive Palmer type of situation.
He'll just get like 2 or 3% and not.
Or a Kanye West kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is he does have a lot of money behind it.
But at the same time, it's like if you're an American voter and you're voting for a candidate who ultimately is going to answer to someone who's not an elected member of either Congress or the office of presidency.
Yeah.
Are you going to think, this guy's a sane guy to vote for?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know. Well,
it's just like something that would run in the back of your mind, kind of thing. But I don't know how Americans vote. I just don't know why they voted for what they did. But
yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Blake. Appreciate you talking about the Labor Party, because I think that, clearly they did really well the last election. And I think it's sort of on them now to deliver on that stuff. And we will. You supported by default. You supported your Labor candidate, but by default Monique Ryan. So we'll see how she goes as well. And we'll keep coming in. And we'll keep
realistically, Monique was going to win.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll do it at catch-ups, like a follow-up, and I'll bring the Labor scorecard, and maybe every 6 months into their term, we can check in on how they're going or something.
Those fuckers jibbed me.
We almost got through without swearing. No, it's all good. I can just cut that bit. Yeah, no. This is The Rightest Leftist with Nathan Ogilvie, the podcast for the politically homeless. Let's keep talking. And like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff on whatever format.
Wherever the button is. Is the button here?
Oh, that was awesome.